Have you started using Z Shell yet? If not, then you probably want to keep watching this video to find out what it's all about. Z Shell is an extension of the Bourne shell, Bash, and it is objectively one of the best shells that's available at the moment. But why use it? Z Shell adds a ton of new features, support for plugins and themes, and since it's based on the same shell as Bash, ZSH has many of the same features, and switching over to it is a breeze. If you use ZSH, stick it in the comments below. Let me know what you use, what features you like, any tips and tricks that you've got to help out any of the others that are watching this video. So some of the cool things that Z Shell can do are you can do auto CD. So you can basically type in the name of a directory. When you type in the name, press enter, it will automatically move you into that directory. You can have a smart history, you can have tab completion, case insensitive, you can add loads of extra plugins, key combinations, key bindings, and way more features on top of this. So we'll jump in, we'll take a look at what I use in my configuration. Z Shell takes a little bit to set it up, but once you've got it set up and you've got your basic .files configured, it's actually really easy to use. And I'll show you in my configuration, I have it set up so that we can automatically update when we log in. So if you make any changes to your GitHub repository with your .files in, it'll automatically set those up and install them for you. So let's jump over here and we'll get started. So first thing you can see is that my prompt is a little bit different from normal. So this is the ZSH prompt it's how I've got it configured to look. And what we'll do is we'll just run through some of the things that I've done in here that make my ZSH a little bit different and make it better than Bash, in my opinion anyway. So first thing we'll do is I create a folder called .files, and it's actually a clone of a repo that I've got, and within here we've got a few directories. So we've got tmux, utils, vim and ZSH, and then there's a deployment script. So the deployment script installs all of the tools that you need. It turns ZSH into the primary command line instead of Bash. So what we'll do is we'll just take a look at some of the things that I can do with mine. So one thing you'll notice is if I launch tmux, you can see the first thing it does is it checks for updates with the Git repository, and then you can see there that it's already up to date. So my config's all split out to make it into a more of a modular system, makes it easier to work with, and I have all of the files sourced from the .files folder, so it makes it a lot easier to do any system specific changes. All you have to do is update the local ZSH file, and that will then mean that you can have a different configuration on one server as what you have on another server. So as you can see here, if I do cat ZSH, you can see there it goes into my .files folder, ZSH RC manager. The RC manager is basically the file that will go through, check with GitHub to make sure that we've got the latest versions downloaded, and it will load our ZSH RC file. Then once we've done that, we can go through and see some of the features that I've got. On mine, I've got history enabled, so you can see different commands that I've run, and then also we have like a history autocomplete. So if I go git, for example, the last command I run was git status, so it brings that up, and then if I press the up arrow, I can go through the different commands that I've run with git in them. It just makes it really fast for you to get to those files that you've used those commands that you've used previously. One of the other things that's really cool is auto CD. So what I can do is if I type in .files here and then press enter, it'll automatically CD me into that folder, so I don't need to type CD anymore. And as you can see, whenever I CD into a directory, it automatically does an ls. So what I've done is I've actually remapped cd to cd and ls, so that every time I enter a directory, it will automatically put me a ls, so I can see all of the folders in there. And the reason I've done that is most of the times whenever I go into a directory, I'm going to do an ls so that I can see what files are there as well at the same time. If I want to go through a list of directories, I can just do, so for example, cd, and then I can press tab. And what I can do is I can press tab again and use that, or I can use the arrow keys to move through them and then press enter, and it'll take me into that directory. I can do Control V, which will give me a vim buffer of the last command that was run. So for this, it's not particularly useful, but if you were doing this on a really long command and you just wanted to update part of it, it would come into its own for that. So when we come out of there, you can see now it's running the ping command. I also have a command here for automatically adding to Git. So if I go here, if I create a file, a test file, you can see now here we've got a +1 because there's one file that's changed, and then you've got a star here. So the star basically means that there are files that have not been added yet. So if I press Control G, and what this does is it will do a git add, git commit, and then it'll push. So this is the git commit. I'll put my note in, test file, escape. And because I've not got my git files on this particular server, it's asking me for my username and password, but normally that would just commit straight into my GitHub repository. So now what else I can do is I have Control H. That will take me back to the root directory of a workspace. So if I were to go into the ZSH folder and now press Control H, it'll take me back to that directory. And then I have Control K, which will take me back a directory. So if I do K, Control K, it'll take me back to my home directory. And then if I do Control K again, it'll take me back to the home folder for all of the users. Some of the plugins that I use in here is syntax highlighting. So if I type ping, it'll go green. But if I type pings, it will go red because it knows that that command's incorrect. I also have auto suggestions on, which basically searches through my history. And then if I press the right arrow key, sorry, it'll highlight the last command, and then I can press enter and it'll just start to do that command. So now we get onto my prompt. The prompt is basically an array of plugins or prompts that are displayed when relevant. So currently working directory is always visible, as you can see here by the tilde. And if I cd into dot files, then you can see here that dot files is now the default folder that we're in, and you can see that here. If I go into a Git repository, you can see here that I'm on the master branch. This icon here lets me know that it's also a Git repository, so it's really quick to see. And then within these brackets here, we get different symbols. So if I update an existing file, so if I change the test file, then you can see now we've got new icons here. Those icons basically mean different things. So I have a yellow star for untracked changes, I have a green plus for files that have been added but not committed. I've got a blue star for modified changes, a chevron for a file that's been renamed, a red cross for deleted files, and a $sign for status changes. So there's quite a few on there, but it makes it really easy at a quick glance for me to see whether a repository has been updated or not, and whether that commit has been pushed and how many files have been changed. So I find that really, really useful. And one of the other things that this does is if, for example, you run a command under sudo, so this command, for example, and we'll do that. You can see in here now it says sudo. What that basically does is it's telling me whenever I'm already in the sudo, and I've got those elevated permissions. So if I now run another command that requires sudo, it should work straight away. We also have a prompt that will give me a timestamp to show me how long it took to do the last command. So if I do cd ... and then you see that last command took 1 second to run. And if I type a command in and get it wrong, you'll also see that it gives me the error code here. So that's useful if you're doing something like starting a service, for example, and that service fails to run. It'll show the error code here when it exits out of that. So that's really useful. So you can see what's happened at a quick glance, and if you know what error code you're looking for, that makes it even easier. You don't have to go rooting through log files to find that. So one of the other cool things that we can do is we can use ZSH in order to kill background processes. So if I do ping and 1.1.1 and run it as a background task, it will give us a ID there for the service. So now if I do kill-9 and type in ping, and then I can press tab and it'll just bring back the PID there, and then press enter, and now it's killed that ping task. So that's really useful to quickly kill any background tasks that you've got running on the server. So I find that one really useful. And now I've also got quite a few aliases set up, mainly for Git, because that's one of the main things that I use. But if I go into .files in here, I can run gs, and that will give me my Git status, and I've got it cut down so it only gives me some of the shorter information. I don't need to see the full Git status here. It takes up a lot of space, so if I just use gs, then I know whether my files are ready to be committed or not. I've also got some for npm, some aliases. So if I do cat ZSH aliases, there you go. You can see I've got a few aliases there. So that's my ZSH configuration. Hopefully you found this useful, getting to see my ZSH. In the description below, I've posted the link to my .files. If you've got any questions, feel free to stick an issue on there. Put something in the comments below if you're interested in this, if you want to see more videos on ZSH. If you want to go through my tmux configuration or anything like that, stick a comment below. There's going to be more videos around this coming out, and I'd love to hear from you guys. Thanks a lot, and see you later.